Hello, my beautiful souls, and welcome to another episode of the Empowered Souls podcast. Today, I'm bringing you a very interesting episode about dangerous traps and mistakes spiritual people make in their awakening journey. Now, this episode applies to you whether you are just starting your spiritual awakening journey, even if you're not sure if what you're experiencing or what's going on in your life, it's a spiritual awakening or not. It applies to you as well if you've been in the spiritual community and very spiritually aware all your life. First of all, let me tell you what I understand by spiritual awakening. So by spiritual awakening, I mean the realization that you are more than flesh and bone, right? So maybe you're starting to be interested in the world of energy. You're starting to understand that we're not just, like this flesh and bone, that we are energy, that we are all connected through the field of energy. Maybe you started to feel a strong connection with God, with source, with the divine. You're starting to see yourself as much more than just your body in this physical plane, and maybe you're starting to develop connection with your higher self, with your soul. You're starting to feel that you have a purpose that you came here to fulfill. Maybe you're starting to become aware of the idea of karma and past lifetimes, and how this lifetime here on earth is just a tiny fraction of a really long and beautiful soul evolution journey. And so maybe you started to become interested in things like energy healing, manifestation techniques, and being more in connection with the universe, with the earth, with God, with source. You are more interested in alternative therapies. You're taking more care about your health. You want to do the deep healing. You really feel like a calling, right? To maybe start a business, to maybe share something with your community. So during that process, which, by the way, is kind of a lifetime process, is not something that just happens at once and that's it. During that process of starting to realize all these things and starting to gain more knowledge, it's a beautiful process. It is very powerful. It can change your life. It can change the way you see yourself. It can change the way you see the world around you, the way you see your life. It can give you so many tools to do the deep healing, to really transform yourself personally, and just to change the reality around you. Like when you know how to use these tools, where you are connected spiritually with yourself, with your higher self, when you are connected to God, to the universe, when you transcend the idea that this life is just, okay, make the most of it, have as much fun as you can, because this is it, right? It is beautiful what you can experience. It is really powerful, but it can be dangerous, because there is so much misinformation in the spiritual community, because we're working here with kind of abstract concepts and ideas, right? And when we talk about, I don't know, past lifetimes, for example, how do you know if that's true or if not? Many things you can just trust your intuition. There is no way to know for certain what's right, what's wrong, what's true, what's false. Here is where very, very important that you learn to discern the information around you, and that you learn to trust yourself and be very cautious about the information you receive, because there are so many spiritual gurus and teachers and so much misinformation out there. And I know most people just do it with a good intention, but sometimes they're doing more harm than good. So what I want to share with you in this episode today is the main traps or mistakes that I have found, and mistakes that I've made myself, by the way. So when I talk about the mistakes, don't think that I'm judging. You know, if you resonate with one of these mistakes or dangerous traps and you're like, oh my God, that's me. Yeah. And that doesn't feel right. This is not with the intention to judge anyone, because trust me, these mistakes that I'm going to be sharing with you, or these traps that I'm going to be sharing with you, I know them well enough. And the reason why I'm sharing them with you is because I don't want you to fall into those traps or make those mistakes. So no judgment here. This is just to share my experience and my knowledge, and hopefully to help people avoid those traps or mistakes. So I have 6 for you. Right. So number 1 is not doing the inner work and the deep healing properly. What I see a lot in the spiritual world when people start to, when people experience a spiritual awakening, is that we move from a story that justifies our problems that happen in this lifetime to justifying our same problems with a fancier story. What do I mean by this? What I mean is, imagine that I was, I don't know, bullied at school, and that had a huge impact in my confidence, and that's why my business is not working, because I don't feel confident making any promotion. I can't record these YouTube videos. I don't feel confident enough to talk about what I know about the resources, the tools I have to share with people. And then I keep telling myself the story that, oh, it's because I was bullied at school that I now don't have the confidence to succeed in my business, or to create a YouTube channel, or to start a podcast, or whatever that is. Identifying the story is wonderful, because it will help you trace back, you know, the root of your problem, or what you want to change. But if you stay stuck in the story, you're just gonna, it becomes an excuse. It's just a justification, you know, for your problems. So identifying the story is really important. Then you trace it back, you go to the root, you go to the origin, and you heal it, right? So for example, in this case, and this is like a huge part of the work I do in my healing coaching programs, we will go to the root of the problem. In this case would be, well, the fact that I was bullied at school, and I will go and heal that part of ourselves, and I would do work with that part of myself that was bullied, that experienced that trauma, the pain, the fear, the anger, and I would work on healing that part of myself, rewriting that story. And then when you rewrite your story, you change your mindset, then you don't have the belief that it is not safe to speak your truth anymore. Then you don't have the belief, you have changed that belief. You don't have to believe that people are going to judge you. You don't have to believe that you're not good enough to start a YouTube channel, whatever that is, right? So you identify the story, but you do something to heal it. So what I see in the spiritual world is that you start to become more interested in your soul evolution journey, the idea of karma, the idea of past lifetimes, and you go to a healer, you go to a tarot reader, or to a psychic, and they tell you that in another past lifetime, you were a powerful priestess, a powerful healer. Something went wrong, you misused your power, you were persecuted, killed, whatever, some form of traumatic event. And that's why you're carrying that karma, and that's why your business is not succeeding. And that's why you're having problems with your business or your career or your relationships, whatever that is. And that sounds like, wow, I'm so special. I was a really powerful priestess. But you're still telling yourself the same story. You're just using that story to justify the fact that you're not starting the business you should be starting, that you're not offering the services that you should be offering, because that's what you came here to do. So identifying, I'm not saying there's no value in identifying that. I think it's really powerful, actually. And I have experienced, you know, in some therapy sessions, you know, some journeys or some regressions when I have seen, or when I have seen memories, or even experienced, you know, like being in a different place, in a different lifetime, as a different incarnation. And that has helped me understand, or have a broader understanding of my soul evolution journey. That has helped me connect with my purpose a lot, because I have seen how, you know, across lifetimes there was a common topic, and that helped me get information about what my purpose, what I need to focus on. But again, you need to do the work on healing that, and you treat that as you were treating your inner child. Really, you don't need to do anything super fancy. You know, these days it seems that all the practices, all the healing techniques, everything has to be like very fancy, galactic, cosmic. It's the same work. It's the same work. You just work with that part of yourself that holds the trauma, and you heal it, and you give her what she needs, or you give him what he needs, and you rewrite the story. And for that, you also need to do the active work. It doesn't matter if it comes from a previous lifetime. You still need to do the work, the mindset work, the belief work. You still need to rewrite your story. You still need to work on rewiring your brain, your mindset. It doesn't matter if it happened a million lifetimes ago. So the mistake I see is that sometimes we just get stuck in the problem, but we are just telling ourselves a fancier story. And that's not healthy, because that's being stuck in the victim mode. I was Nefertiti in a previous lifetime, and this happened to me, and this is why I can't have the partner I would like to have. That's why I don't succeed in my business. It's just an excuse. It's just a justification. You're just justifying your problem, right? So I'm not saying there's no value in that if you use it to heal it properly, to do the work in a grounded way. And I'm going to go back to the grounded way in another mistake. So yeah, so if you identify, like a past lifetime story, yeah, okay, perfect, but use it to heal. Do the mindset work, do the healing work. Don't just get stuck with it, because sometimes the danger of this is that it can become a pastime. You go and they tell you about this fancy lifetime. We all want to feel special. We all want to feel unique. So it's really great to hear that we were someone really powerful and really special in a different lifetime. We can be addicted to this. So be very, very, very careful, and always ask yourself, how is this information helping me? How can I use this information to get unstuck or to move forward? Don't just stay with it. Right. So mistake number 2, or trap number 2, is the ego trap. So again, what I see a lot, and I have experienced myself, I'm going to raise my hand here, and I'm, guilty of this one, guilty of the previous one, by the way, as well. The ego trap. So dangerous. I see so many so-called spiritual leaders, teachers, gurus, talking not from a position of service, not from a position of wanting to help, but just wanting to show off. And they want to show off, how wonderful living in Bali is, and how wonderful wearing these hippie clothes is, and telling everyone that they're wrong if they don't follow their practice or whatever they're doing. It needs to come when you are really, you're not on a spiritual journey if you are not humble. Like when you see the true masters, I haven't come across many, to be honest, but when you come across someone who's really, really, really spiritual advanced, and you can see, like, even just, like being in their energy field, and you feel, wow, like this person really knows. They're not shouting it from the rooftops. They're not loud. They keep quiet. They know what they know. They share it with people who want to listen, but in a very different way, and always, 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 always from the desire to help and to be of service to others. And I remember that when I started, doing a lot of healing and, having all these realizations and learning about, I was like, oh, wow. So now I know how the world works, and all these people don't. I'm much better than them. That's not a good attitude to have. That's not a good attitude. And I see it a lot, and we start to question, oh, why are these people not doing the proper healing? Why are these people, why do these people still have a terrible diet? And we can become a bit judgmental. And that's not helping. That's not helping us. And because when you really evolve, and when you really elevate yourself, when you raise your frequency, this is a term that I'm sure you've heard in the spiritual world, raising your frequency, raising your vibration, elevating yourself, and we should aiming to that. definitely. But then we can become a bit like, oh, we're here, I'm here, I've raised my vibration, and all those people who are not doing the healing are there underneath me. And that's a very bad attitude to have. That means that there's some healing you need to do. I needed to do that healing. I needed to heal my ego that was getting a bit, yeah, a bit addicted to those strokes. Oh, I'm doing all those. I'm not doing all this healing. I'm raising my vibration. So and eventually I realized, this is not how a true master would behave. This is not what a true master would say. If you think about, I don't know, not like I've met them in person, but if you picture, like the idea of, like, I don't know, if you think of Buddha, if you think of Jesus Christ, if you think, how would they have talked to you? How would they have behaved? I can picture them having the deepest level of love, compassion, and kindness. No ego. That is a lot of work that I had to do on myself, on my big ego, which, by the way, having a big ego is just, camouflaging lack of confidence, or, or a wound that is there underneath. So if you're being triggered, or your ego gets triggered, that's great. I love triggers because it's what helps us grow, right? When we get triggered, it means that something is not healed, but when it's being triggered, it means that it's coming to the surface. So it's ready to be released. It's ready to do the work and to heal it. So always welcome triggers. Treat them with, treat yourself with compassion and love. If you get triggered, that's like an invitation to continue your healing journey. Right. So excuse me if you see me looking at my notes, but there are so many things I want to share with you in this episode. I want to make sure that I don't forget any of the important things I want to share. So elevate yourself, heal yourself, raise your vibration, but stay humble and grounded, and always think of being of service. If you are not humble, if you are not being of service, there's some healing that needs to be done. Right. So mistake or trap number 3. Oh, this is probably one of my favorite ones. Giving your power away. So when we start spiritual awakening, and we start exploring with crystals, healers, tarot readers, oracle cards, all these cool things, which are like toys. It's like a fun fair, right? It's like so cool, everything, so many things to explore. So the problem with this is that you're giving your power away when you trust someone else to channel someone else, God knows who, to give you some information that you probably already knew. They might be just vague and ambiguous and might not even help you so much. You have all the information you need. You have access to the most powerful source of information, which is your soul, your higher self, the higher dimensional part of you, which is still you. It's not an external being. It's still you. It's just a higher dimensional part of you, but it's still you. You have that. That is all you need. And then have that connection with God, the creator, source, the divine, whatever you want to call it. And that's all you need. And where you're going, and when you're putting your trust in someone else to channel a random being for you, it's like you're implying that you don't have access to that you don't have the power to access that information within you. And I'm not saying you shouldn't work with a mentor, that's not what I'm talking about. The problem I have with this is that most times I've experienced this enough, and I've done enough research on this topic to understand that most of the times the beings, entities, that these people are channeling are nothing but demons or malevolent entities, trickster beings that want to mess with you. I'm not saying that there aren't any benevolent, beings, races that are here to help? I'm not sure, but to be honest, all the ones I've heard channeled, all the predictions were either completely ambiguous and like, let me tell you, what they would say, this is a great time for change. Change is coming. Oh, wow, amazing information. Who would have guessed? Well, let me tell you something. One thing that is not going to change in your life is change. Change is always going to be there. That's actually the only thing that is never going to change, that there will always be change. So yeah, time for change, you know, energy is coming to the earth. Like, it's always like very generic, very, but what is the actual advice? What is the, how is this information useful? Because I remember at the beginning, I got addicted to these channels, to these videos, because they give you hope in a world of crap, you know, and in a world of the direction the world is taking. I'm not going to go down that route because that will be that's for another episode. But you know, it gives you hope. It's like a soap opera, and I can see this is literally like a soap opera. And they criticize the mainstream media, you know, and the TV shows. It is a TV show. If it's not helping you, heal, if it's not giving you you know, the information you need. And not to mention that sometimes, when I said that most of the time I believe they're just trickster beings or demons camouflaged, do some research on the topic and listen to testimonies of people who have been heavily involved in witchcraft, voodoo, the occult, and have come out of it. Because they always agree that most of the times the power of this, you know, channelers, readers, psychics, mediums, whatever, are trickster beings, are demons. They're not, and also they're always super, it always has to be very extravagant and cosmic and galactic, you know. It always has to be the Galactic Federation, the Council of Nine, the Lemurians, the Pleiadians. If I were channeling my granddad Antonio, no one would listen to that, because it's always like really fancy and cosmic and out there, but it's not grounded. Like, that information, how is that information helping you in particular be in a better place? And don't get me wrong, some people are very talented, and I know they're doing it from good intentions and spreading the message of love and light. I'm not saying they do it on purpose. Actually, they probably don't know. And if someone is watching me, they're probably thinking, oh, I channel a lot of beings and they're definitely not demons. I know, I protect myself, you know, I invoke my spirit guides to protect me from all those beings. Maybe. In my case, I have done enough research and experience, and I don't believe that's the case. I believe that in most cases, it's very, 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 very dangerous. And it's very, 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 very easy to be tricked. And actually, when I go to many spiritual fairs, and you see the section, you know, where people are channeling or, you know, or doing readings, just have a look at their energy, at the energy field. If you're sensitive to energy, just have a look at how, you know, what the energy field looks like. And every time I talk to someone who's very involved in practices like that, you know, in channeling or being in touch with a lot of different beings, obviously witchcraft, you know, occult practices, it's a matter of minutes that in the conversation something comes up about them having health problems, relationship problems, money problems, legal problems. It's a matter of minutes, because in these situations I listen, you know. I think, okay, they have something to share, let's see what they have to share. And it's only a matter of minutes that they will start talking about a big problem they're facing, of a big challenge they're facing. Well, if you're channeling all these cosmic, galactic, super powerful beings, which supposedly you are channeling to help people, why don't you use it to heal yourself? Why don't you use it to solve your relationship problems, your money problems, your little problems. Oh, but in the past lifetime I was a powerful priestess, and now, you know, the whole karma story, fancy story thing. Because also I've never heard someone channeling a being that says something that you don't want to hear. It's always something very fancy, right? It's always something like, if you've been, you know, if you've received a reading recently, or, you know, a channeling session or anything like that, I bet that you were either a priestess, a queen, a sacred healer, a king if you're a man, pharaoh, wizard, you know, very, very, very powerful. I bet you weren't told you were a plain Jane, and you had a life where you just worked and died alone, and that's why you're having that feeling of loneliness that you don't know where it's coming from. I bet they never tell you that, because no one will pay for that. No one wants to pay to hear that you are a plain Jane. You pay because you want to hear a fancy story, something special, something unique. And actually, more lifetimes than not, we have been that plain Jane that has died alone. And maybe that's where the feeling of loneliness comes from. This is just an example, right? And I'm not saying that everyone who does this, you know, is misleading, but in my experience, and especially having read all the testimonies from people who were involved in that and have come out of that, it makes me very, very, very conscious, very cautious about this. So I tend to not trust any channeled information, whether that comes from spirit guides, the Galactic Federation, what have you. I trust my higher self. That's what I trust. Trust, and also trust people who teach you or who encourage you to learn how to develop that connection yourself, not to trust on an external source. When I work with my clients, sometimes I do perceive things because I use my intuition in my sessions. But sometimes I say, did you see anything? Did my higher self tell you something? I never talk. They know. I teach them how to talk to their higher self. It's not my job. Then they would depend on me telling them, you know, I want them to be self-sufficient in that sense, and I want them to try, because then I'm going back to the point, we're giving our power away. If we are trusting someone else to tell us what to do, that's avoidance. We are avoiding taking responsibility. We want someone else to tell us what to do. Trust people who teach you. Learn how to do it yourself, how to trust it yourself. You don't need anyone else. And again, I'm not saying that everyone, probably a lot of people here are getting offended. I'm not saying that everyone who does this is wrong. I think it's possible, you know, there might be some benevolent beings out there. It's risky. What I'm saying here, it is very risky. And just judge the tree by its fruits. You know, like if you ever go to a tarot reader, to a channel, just you know, detach yourself from the show, and just to say, how are they doing? Do they look healthy? Do they look happy? Do they look like they're full of light and love and compassion? Is life flowing for them? Because if not, they're trying to give you advice or something that they haven't mastered. So judge the tree by its fruits. And that's all I'm going to say about this topic. Right. So number 4 is related to giving your power away, which is trusting false light beings, so-called spiritual gurus, and all that misleading information. They're kind of like one together. And it also relates back to the idea of the ego trap. you know, when you listen to them, because it's very easy to get distracted by all this, you know, the fancy ballet background, the fancy hippie clothes, the fancy hair, you know, it's always someone galactic, cosmic, from, you know, God knows what dimension. It's always very, very, very fancy. So if you detach yourself and you see it like, because sometimes I think it's kind of entertainment more than informational, you know. So just you know, step away from it, and assess, is this information helping me, or am I just being entertained? Is this useful for me, or is this just a spiritual soap opera? And again, judge the person by his fruits. Is that person, do I believe that person, you know, if you close your eyes and you receive that, do I believe that this person comes from a place of service and love, or does it come from a place of ego? Because spirituality, we're making spirituality something like really complicated. It has to be very fancy, very, very complex. It is not. It is very simple, actually. It is very, very simple. All these extras, all this added, it's just entertainment. It's just entertainment. So yeah, so be aware of the people you follow, because sometimes when you are following someone who channels certain beings, just by watching that, you are giving consent to whatever entity being they're channeling to attach to you. And again, this is very, very dangerous. So be very, 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 very careful of the people you follow, you watch, and you let in, because just by watching that, you are giving consent. And maybe you won't notice at the beginning, or you wouldn't, or you're not going to associate the difference, but it wouldn't be the first time that someone comes to me saying that they did some weird channel meditation practice, whatever. At the beginning, they feel very, you know, they felt very blissful, because at the beginning it's so beautiful, you know, that's what the tricks the beings do, that's what demons do. They give you some information that is very accurate, and you go, oh my God, that's true. How does he know that? They must have superpowers. That's what they do. They give you some information that is useful. They give you a burst of bliss, and oh wow, that meditation felt so good. Oh wow, this was great. And then 3 months later, you have a health crisis. Your relationship is going to shambles. You start to have problems with money. Chaos comes into your life. So sometimes it's not that easy to associate or to see the consequences, but it doesn't mean that they're not there. Right. So number five is one that I really love, which is use the term ascension symptoms to justify your problems. Right. So, you know, the thing about this episode, that every single trap or mistake, I could do a whole episode on its own. So I'm trying to be selective on what I say, but yeah. So I keep hearing about ascension symptoms, right? So, and what this refers to is, you know, like when the consciousness of the planet, or a lot of people becomes stronger, we are kind of experiencing a spiritual awakening. We are healing. We are, you know, leaving behind all paradigms, trauma, ancestral patterns, and again with the cycles that the planet goes through, and they can be different energies around. So the idea is that when that happens, and when we kind of awaken, or we are in that ascension process, when we elevate ourselves, when we're doing all this healing, you know, whether that's our personal work or anchoring some energies that are being infused to Earth, we might experience physical symptoms. So, for example, when you are when you are healing, when you are raising your consciousness, when you are elevating yourself and raising your vibration, it's like your energy field changes very quickly, but the body needs to adjust. So, for example, every time I do an energy healing session, I always tell my clients to take it easy that day, because the energy work we've done happened quickly, because energy changes very quickly, but matter, the body, the physical body, takes a bit longer to adjust to that. So it's normal to feel a bit tired. It's normal to have like maybe memories coming to mind, that's that process. So there is an element that that could be explained as ascension symptoms, where you're doing a lot of healing, and I have experienced this myself, and I know how it feels, to be like, wow, I'm so tired, after a healing session, or like being really tired, or even have physical symptoms, like kind of detox physical symptoms, so you might experience kind of like a cold like symptoms, or diarrhea or something like that, like the body detoxing something that had to come out. So it could be that at some points, some physical symptoms might be reflecting energetic changes, healing, raising your vibration. But if you always feel tired, if you always have headaches, if you always have a certain problem, if you always have insomnia, that's not ascension symptoms. I'm sorry, but they're not. And I think a big mistake and a dangerous, very, very dangerous trap is to use this to use the term ascension symptom to justify any form of physical, mental, or emotional problem. And I hear it all the time. Oh, are you tired? Do you wake up tired every day? Yeah, you're about to ascend. Oh, are you not able to concentrate for 5 minutes still? Yeah, that means that you're about to ascend. You're on the right track. Are you always emotionally agitated? That's the energies around. Yeah, you're about to ascend. Think about it. It doesn't make any sense to me. Someone who's on the right path, if you're really healing, if you're really raising your vibration, you should be the best you've ever been. You should be feeling great. If you're detoxing physically, emotionally, mentally, you should be feeling fucking good. You shouldn't be feeling bad. You shouldn't be feeling tired. One-off episodes, fine. It could be. And to be honest with you, they feel for me, my experience, they feel very different. I know when I feel bad, when I've done a lot of, when I've done deep healing, and then my body's like, oh my God, I just need to adjust to this. Then when I have an infection and I feel awful, it's very different. It's very different. One, yeah, it might be my body adjusting to something. The other one is me not having a proper diet, not having proper sleep, not doing the healing I need to do. They're very, very different. Very, very different. They feel very different. And especially if you have them every day, I would reassess if your diet is the best that you could have, if your environment is the best that you could be surrounded by, in terms of the place you live in, the people you're surrounded by, EMF, toxic energies, pollution. I would question, is there any interference? I've talked before about trickster beings and demons and malevolent entities that have a lot of fun and feed from us being in fear, being in anger, and stopping our soul evolution, right? That's their purpose. You have your purpose, they have theirs. Theirs is to stop yours. So, which in my experience also can cause a lot of even physical health problems. And the topic of this episode is not spiritual warfare. I have a lot of videos though in my YouTube channel about spiritual warfare, because I think it's a very, very important topic. But yeah, the idea is that I think it's very dangerous to tell people, or these spiritual gurus or teachers that that are saying that it's fine to feel crap all the time. It's good. You're ascending. Let me disagree, because like I said, if you are on it, if you are on your path, and if you are healing, you should be feeling really good. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of doing all the healing and having a healthy diet and a healthy environment and a healthy mindset. That then when you purify that, then you should have a lot more energy in the mornings, and you should have a lot of inspiration for your work. You should feel good. Feel, think, behave, You should be changing for good. Obviously, it's impossible to be, like super healthy and full of energy 24/7. Well, maybe it's not important. I'm definitely not there. Trust me, I'm not there. So yeah, I'm not saying that you have to be, happy all the time, or super full of energy all the time either. That's really, really difficult. Definitely haven't achieved that. Working on that, but haven't achieved that yet. But if you're always feeling, like tired, sluggish, headaches, pains, emotional problems, like, please take responsibility for that, because I think the danger of this movement and of this idea is misleading people into not taking responsibility, into not doing anything. I feel really bad, but it's great because I'm ascending. It's avoidance. It's avoiding taking responsibility for your health, for your emotions, for your mindset, for your life. So just be aware of this. Just be aware of this, and reconsider, the source of that. Because if you have a perfect, if you're doing a lot of healing, super proper healing, have a healthy diet, the best environment, and if it's every now and then, it could be that your body's that your body is adjusting. But if it's something permanent, that and there are other things that you could change, I would suggest you try that first. You try on working on improving your diet, your mindset, your environment, your emotions, before you decide that what the physical symptom you're experiencing is an ascension symptom or not. And like I said, please, I know, and please forgive me if I'm being cynical here. I'm not trying to offend anyone, definitely not judging anyone, because I told you at the beginning, all these mistakes, all these traps, I know them very well, from personal experience. I'm just sharing this information here so you don't make the same mistakes. All right, so the last one, number 6, is not being grounded. And I have left this one for the end, not because it's not important, because it is a really, really, really important one. But I've saved this one for the end because I want to share some practical tips with you around this topic, not being grounded. So what happens when we start to do some spiritual practices, meditation routines, like all these things, we might start to do some practices, for example, manifestation techniques, talking to a higher self, practices that raise our energy, and we can become very high up and not grounded on the physical plane. And even though my aim is to be as and have as high frequency as possible, and be as connected to my higher self as possible, and be as connected to God and to source as possible, but if I'm not grounded in my physical body, if I'm not grounded in the plane I'm living in, that is useless. I can have all the information from my higher self I want about my purpose and what I need to do and how I was a powerful healer. So I have this innate talent and these innate skills. If I can't sit down and write the script for this YouTube video, and I can write a few words for my website, and I can go to a networking event to talk about what I do, and I can't work with my clients because I'm not emotionally stable, because I'm up there, is useless. All that information needs to be grounded in the physical plane. Oh, I forgot to say about the gurus that live in 5D already and that are in 5D already, because we want to be up there in the new earth and the fifth dimension and all this stuff, but we're still living here. I still live here. I'm not that advanced. I'm not in 5D yet. I'm still here in this physical body, in this physical reality. My soul is in 5D, not me, not yet. So I need to be able to function in this reality and to still be my best in this reality, because this is where I am. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm not aware of all the rest. It doesn't mean that I'm not trying to get closer and closer and closer to my soul, to my higher self, to my higher dimensional self, to God. That is my aim. You know, like they talk in many spiritual traditions and ancient traditions about escaping the wheel of incarnation, becoming one with source, with where we came from, becoming one with your soul. So you don't have to keep coming back here and learn lessons, because this is what life is about. So while I'm here, one, I still have lessons to learn. And two, I still have things to do. I still have a purpose to fulfill. Whether that's, you know, I personally do it through my healing coaching business, but it doesn't need to be your profession. It could be your family, you know, it could be many things. But if you're here, if you still have a physical body, you still have lessons to learn, you still have a purpose to fulfill. And you need to be able to do it in the physical plane you're in. Because again, believing that you're in 5D already because you do certain meditations or because you do certain spiritual practices, I'm sorry, it's delusional. And it's not helping you. And again, it's avoidance. It's a form of avoiding taking responsibility for your 3D life. And we use this kind of derogatory term, 3D life. You know, like it's like it's something, but it's where you chose to be. It's where you chose to come for a reason, because you had to learn something, because you had to do something here. You had to accomplish some form of mission. Your soul, the 5D version of you, decided that it was good for you to be here in this 3D plane that we kind of despise, and you know. So yeah, keep that connection, of course. Stay connected to God, stay connected to your higher self, you know, work on opening your higher chakras and developing those skills, but stay grounded. It's like a balloon. If you leave a balloon, you know, with no cord, with nothing that is attached to the ground, it just blows. It's blown by the wind, actually. You know, it does whatever the wind wants it to do. Let it high, you know, develop that connection, but keep it grounded. Because otherwise, whatever connection you get, whatever manifestation techniques, higher self-connection techniques you use, if you're not able to ground that into the physical plane, it becomes useless. So also something I hear, oh yeah, my life is a mess, but it doesn't matter because I don't want to be here in 3D anyway. Avoidance. By not fixing your problems in 3D, you're not going to a higher dimension. You're just avoiding fixing those problems. So develop that connection so you can get the highest guidance, the best possible guidance you ever get is from you. from that higher dimensional you, but also stay grounded and be practical, right? And know how to use it, learn how to use it in a way that also serves your mission here on earth. Because if you're here, it's because you chose to be here. And if you chose to be here, it was for a reason, whether that's to learn a lesson or to share a talent, a skill, whatever that is. Talk to your higher self and find out what why you're here, and what you need to do next in your path. And that is how, at least in my experience, life flows and life becomes beautiful. Despite the 3D crap that we have around, life can become beautiful when you develop that connection, but when you also stay grounded. And then when you follow that advice and you develop yourself in that way, it is a beautiful, life-changing, transformational process. Because I don't want you to think that that spiritual development is something like really dangerous. Like maybe I depicted it like it was like it's something very dangerous to avoid at all costs. Definitely not. It is something beautiful that can change your life for the better. It's transformational. And I think it's the way to really be fulfilled and connected, to work on your spiritual development and your personal development. But this episode had the purpose to just share with you mistakes that I have made, traps that I have fallen into, just with the intention that you don't make those mistakes or you can avoid those traps. And like I say, it was never with the intention to offend anyone, because I know that a lot of people in the spiritual community put their hearts and have really, really, really good intentions. But unfortunately, because spirituality is and spiritual development is the way to go, and is how we become powerful. It's being so infiltrated and messed up because of the power that there is in this journey, in the spiritual awakening journey. So yes, I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear if you've made any of these mistakes, how you realized. I would love to hear your experience. I always love to hear from you. So that was all from me today. That was a long episode. By the way, know that I probably should have said this at the beginning, but know that this podcast now is available in the podcast platforms as an audio format, but also in the YouTube channel with video. So if you like and if you're enjoying it, please subscribe, give it a good review, share it with your loved ones, friends, family members. And if you want to take your personal and spiritual development journey further, I will leave my website in the description, so you know more about my approach, and I will also share the link to book a discovery session in case you have any questions, or you want to have a chat with me to see how I can help you further in your healing and spiritual development journey. Okay, my loves. So have a wonderful rest of your day, sending much love and light, and I'll see you in the next episode. Take care.